And there it
Uh,
is. Oh my God. Here we
we
are.
are live. We are
And there's,
live
and there's a stranger with us. Hello, sir.
once again. Zach, what is up with us getting random people in our streams? What's going
I
on?
know all these community
Just
people.
like
What does that
suddenly
mean?
showing up in our streams. Oh my goodness. Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 18 of Henshins and Homies. Today we're joined by our special guest, Ballin. How you doing, Ballin?
I'm doing good. I'm doing really good. Pleasure to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah.
Of
Yeah,
course,
you're
man.
absolutely one of the very first people I thought of to have on here. I was like, you know what? Like, it'd be a lot of fun to have him on there. And within like the first or like episode 0 or episode 1, one of the two of them, random thought I had about, oh my God, bizarro world where Kamen Rider Dragon Knight is successful and awesome and becomes the MMPR of Kamen Rider Adaptations, which we'll get to that in a little bit.
Yeah.
But yes, we're so excited to have Ballin on today. If you don't know Ballin, you should know him as the notorious lord of hot takes in Tokusatsu community. Also a very down-to-earth, friendly guy, very knowledgeable, very nice, open to talk to anybody about anything. Loves Fire Emblem, has his own YouTube channel with lots of content on there. All around awesome guy. So we're super excited to have him on tonight talking about his favorite season, which is Kamen Rider Dragon Knight, yes?
Yes, Kamen Rider Dragon Knight.
Yes. So that's what we're talking about tonight. So we're going to kind of love on Dragon Knight for the first part of it. And the second part, we're going to have a really fun, I tried to kind of embody the spirit of Ballin a little bit and see how much chaos I could sow with the topic of what if Dragon Knight was the MMPR of Kamen Rider Adaptations, meaning it was so successful at Spawn Adaptations. How would they do it? Where would it go? Good and bad? Here we go. But yeah. So, Ballin, go ahead and kind of give a little ditty on why is it that you love this little thing, Kamen Rider Dragon Knight? What is that? What does that mean? What's Dragon Knight?
Enlighten us.
Okay. Well, for those that don't know, Kamen Rider Dragon Knight is an American-produced season of Kamen Rider. It's adapted from Ryuki, and it came out in 2009, although the first episode premiered December 2008. So I always like to say it came out in 2008. I just like that year better.
Sure.
As for why I like it so much, well, through technicality, Dragon Knight was my first exposure to Kamen Rider. I didn't start watching it until much later. I only started watching Kamen Rider for like 2 years. So there was a huge gap between 2008 to 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Wow, I didn't know that
I didn't know
this
what it
was
was.
your entrance to Kamen Rider. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and especially because at least you had a decent entrance with that, as opposed to most people, if you don't know, they attempted to in the 90s. Let me paint a picture for it. We're going to go back in time just a little bit. It was a wondrous time, right? Mighty Morphin is just flying off the shelves. You know, Saban's swimming in his pools of money because of it, right?
Right.
And he's
Dark
like, how
McScrooge.
else can I make more money? So he decides to take more other, tokusatsu shows and bring them over to different degrees of success.
Different IPs to adapt.
Beetleborgs was from Juco Fighter, Juco Fighter, yeah, B-Fighter, Juco, whatever it is, one of the Metal Hero series. And so that was doing okay. And they tried with VR Troopers. Ooh, that was something. Let me tell you, I've always been really unsettled by how intense their transformation called. Their Triple Transform. It's always really in your face.
Yeah.
So that was something. And then they decided to do it with Kamen Rider. They took Kamen Rider, Black RX, and a random one-off spin-off movie and smashed it all together.
MPR, yeah.
It was so bad that Ishinomori himself, not long before he passed away, essentially said, "Leave my franchise the hell alone and never touch it again." So that's pretty intense for it to be that bad.
He said, "Don't ever think about it."
No. So we're done with that. That's done. It keeps going on in Japan, clearly. We get Kuga and a bunch of other seasons. 2009, like he said, 2008, 2009 rolls around. Adness Entertainment, who at the time, as far as my research goes, did nothing else before Dragon Knight. And they were lucky enough to get the rights to Ryuki. I know some behind-the-scenes stuff I was going to tell you about. They first were going to do Fies or Blade. And the higher-ups told them, can you choose a season with more riders? Because clearly more riders equals more merch equals more money. So they chose Ryuki because of the number of riders that it has. So they chose Ryuki, and it's a pretty awesome adaptation. It's definitely like a time capsule of that time of just like super mega like edgy boy sunglasses and leather jackets and like mega butt rock, but like it's got a charm to it that you can't really say that Masked Rider ever had.
Yeah, true. It's true.
So yeah, what about Frankie? What about you? What is your exposure to Dragon Knight?
Well, like I talked about it a bit all the way back in episode 1, like you mentioned. To be honest, like I haven't seen the whole series. Right. I know. I'm sorry. Don't attack me in the comments. I know, but I have seen enough to get an idea of what it is and what it meant for Rider in the U.S. or internationally, right, outside of Japan. And honestly, it's a really good season. Like I find some things funny about it, like the fact that they yell out Kamen Rider to transform and stuff like that, and they're
Kamen Rider.
I'm glad you have it. I'm glad you have it. And their outfits, they're all like biker gang, like with their leather and
my
stuff.
My favorite civilian outfit is Scissors.
Scissors.
Yeah, they're like the second episode because he's like the super mega Chad jock bro with like 2 polos on type situation. Like,
it's such a good outfit because it works perfectly for him.
It does.
Like I'm saying, like whoever was in charge of the wardrobe.
Right.
You got something going on there. Like, wait, let them cook.
Yeah, and it's interesting too because people always kind of I see people kind of like really bag on it as if it's like bad, but I feel like they're the ones that, just like with other shows that we watch, will make fun of it but have never actually watched it. And when you actually watch it, it's actually decent. It's got the same like goofy, kitschy, super cringy drama we get in Kamen Rider and in Power Rangers and in Sentai. Like they all share that weirdness, you know, that goofiness.
It's like a cousin of, you know, Sentai Power Rangers.
They went fairly dark with it. Like they have this whole concept in it where you are vented if you're defeated, right? Which basically means you're dead until later on in the series when we figure out that's not exactly the case. But still, up to that point, oh my God, they're just straight dead. They're fading away. They're gone. And so it's pretty good. It's pretty good in that way because they took pretty much everything they could from Ryuki without like having random her brother or whatever that we never explain how he did any of it, creating the decks and all of the powers. Like we get no backstory there in Ryuki. It's 1 point against Ryuki that we do get backstory here, and I really like that. So yeah, but yeah, I want to go back to that, man. Ballin, man.
Yes.
Kamen Rider, like.
You know,
what are your thoughts on that, bro?
It's funny. I have the incredibly cheap Bandai version for Dragon Knight.
Oh, he got it. The one that spins around in place.
Yeah, this toy's terrible.
Oh, do you have batteries in it?
I have batteries, yeah.
Does it turn on? Oh my God.
Man, you gotta turn it on.
It doesn't do much. It just has like one light at the top and then a little bit of sound.
It does the noise.
Yo, you got the Advent deck or what?
So you don't get Advent decks with this. Instead, you get Advent cards. You get like these little cards that you slip in, and they're double-sided, so they only had to make 6 of them for 12 Raiders. Yeah. So I have all of them right here.
That's not the worst idea.
Yeah. So this one's
mad about it.
It's Dragon Knight, and then Wrath. This one is Spear, and then Axe.
Mm-hmm.
This is Torque and Sting.
Mm-hmm. I love his character. Oh my gosh, I love his character.
Wing Knight and Thrust.
Yes. They were
King.
It's one thing I think
Camo.
I want to talk about him in a second. And Strike.
Strike. There you go. Camo Strike, and then Siren.
Mm-hmm.
And Incisor.
Nice. They never did one for Onyx.
They got the whole game.
They didn't do one. They did 12, and they left Onyx to here. You have the Dragon Knight.
I feel like because of it's such a simple driver, you could literally like print one out.
Yeah, so
not even. You could just print one out and then.
It's just a slip. You just slip it in.
Oh, and then it spins with it in there. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. It's a little hard to put in though. Like this thing is so finicky. Yeah,
but don't you put like cards in it though? No.
Yeah, there's also cards that you can put. Like you push down on it here, and it opens up for cards.
Oh.
And I have those.
Oh. This is like a toy review now.
That's so cool. No, I don't.
Yeah, so I have a bunch of cards here from all the toys I have. I literally have all of my toys just like laid out on the table here in case I needed to talk about them.
Yeah.
Well, here you are. You're talking about them. Continue to do so.
The other cool thing with it,
but
they were so creative with how they named the riders. I thought like they were pretty simple names, but it worked and like it made sense for each one of them for the most part.
It did, yeah.
And the cool thing with Camo, I don't know if you knew this, Ballin, but with Camo, so that was they must have bought the rights to the movie stuff too, because he was from one of the extra like side special things that happened. I don't think final episode, it was a different one, and so it would have been entirely movie footage. So Frankie, every bit of Camo, which by the way in Dragon Knight is played by a black actor, so you have a first black actor Kamen Rider in the whole entire series.
They did it before.
The entire
they were a movie exclusive. Yeah,
no,
I know.
They don't use any movie footage. They don't use.
I know. They use
original.
the suit.
Yeah,
in the show.
Completely original. I love the fact that it's just all original footage.
Not that he's in it.
I was like glancing over some episodes of my own. Let me say that again. I was glancing over some episodes from the series, and I realized how often they use their own footage. Who's that?
Oh God, I'm sorry. Those are probably my dogs. I'm in my bedroom right now, so like my window is. I'm really.
It's totally fine, Ballin. It's totally okay. But yeah, like I was saying, like they use a lot of their own original footage. Like I was surprised that I only saw like 1 or 2 scenes from Ryuki, and everything else is kind of just their own thing. Mainly because they're mostly outside their suit, at least for the beginning episodes. But when they are in their own suit, they still record their own footage, especially with Wing Knight. They do a lot of stuff with the original footage for him instead of like just going with the Ryuki adaptation. And I find that really impressive because I mean not so often with Hasbro, but in the past we relied heavily on a lot of Sentai footage for Power Rangers. So it's unique to like have something else. Oh, what's going on? Is it me?
Yeah. No, like all 3 of you were. It was like loading.
Oh, it was you. I'm kidding. I glitched earlier, so it's not. Ballin, little heads up. Both of us could glitch at any moment in time, but for the most part, we should be good.
For the most part,
but yeah.
It's good to know. Good to know.
He'll just look like a robot. He'll look like he's being vented. So
I will probably be vented in this episode. Just a heads up. Sorry, guys.
So an interesting thing, the theme song is like, to me, it's iconic. I'm sorry. I really like the theme song. It's so intense. It's all like super mega intense butt rock, and I love it. And my favorite thing is there's a line in it. Don't play too much of it if you are. Oh my God, Frankie. We almost got copyright struck on a different episode for a different reason, but anyway, so
I'm not gonna play any music right now.
In the theme song, they say "Let's Ride," right? So in production, I've corroborated this with a couple different online sources. So in production, that was originally what they were going to say. Instead of saying Kamen Rider, they were going to say "Let's Ride," and they chose to go with Kamen Rider. I don't really know why. No one really knows why. I feel like it would have been a tiny bit more creative to say "Let's Ride." But you just kind of get used to it. It's hard to bag on it because I like it so much. So it's hard to be like, I don't really like this.
It becomes iconic. It grows on you a bit.
Right.
Yeah.
But I feel like...
No, you're good. Go ahead.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'm kind of happy they didn't translate it out to anything to make it like Insect Rider, or God forbid they accidentally name it Masked Rider and have no idea and connect it back to the garbage we got back in the 90s.
Oh God, that would have been... Everyone would have turned off right away. They would have given it no chance.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
No. I mean, like, look, if they did call it Masked Rider, but continuing to create such an interesting season like Dragon Knight, I feel like people would kind of tune in a bit. Like, they would kind of reinvent the name of Masked Rider instead of associating it with what we got previously with MMPR.
Right.
But what I was going to say, not to jump ahead a little, but I do believe that if they said something else besides Kamen Rider to transform, it would have been better. Because if they continue to adapt stuff, every Kamen Rider saying Kamen Rider to transform, that'd be very stale. I feel like Let's Ride would be a lot more original.
Yeah. Well, we knew they weren't going to say Dragon Knight. We knew they weren't going to say transform because I told you before, we are troopers. Trooper transform.
I mean, like, look, even if they did just simply said transform, I mean, it's a little lazy, but at the same time, it's still a little bit more creative than just Kamen Rider.
Fly in the wall to change anything. It would have been keep it Let's Ride and to cut down the whole sequence by like 2 seconds. Because when they get into
with like the rings,
it looks really cool, but goddamn, does it take?
It takes a minute.
It's long. It's very long.
And the fact that they go like they just like whiplash. What is going on with them? Like, they're just all standing like that for a solid 10 seconds, and it's like,
but no, it's its own original thing, and I gotta give it credit for that. It's really, other than like the multiple riders in it, that's about where the similarities end. Like, there's not a lot of like exact story beats that they hit on, they take the journalism stuff with Shinji and Ryuki and kind of disseminate that into a couple of characters because they have Maya, who's kind of the journalist, and all of her friends kind of fill that role.
Her camera getting destroyed in the first episode. I found that so funny.
He's such a bully at first. Wing Knight, yes. And that they have the whole setup of Ventara, this mirror to Earth that's exactly like Earth. And you have all the different, like anybody who lives here has a copy.
It's a mirror dimension.
Exactly. Which worked, honestly, because in Ryuki, we kind of touch on it about mirrors, but we don't go too much into it of the why. It just is,
like you're just expected to understand it.
Tatakai, just fight, like, I don't care. But I like that they took the time to explain it, and that made me really happy. I wasn't expecting that from something that wasn't made by Saban, what we were used to. You know what I mean? So
right.
Yeah.
Ballin. Who's your favorite character?
Yes.
Oh, that's always a hard question to answer because, like, all of these characters are really good. I feel like they all have some kind of development, some kind of arc, or some kind of purpose in the greater narrative. Like, even characters who are only there for an episode or two, they serve their purpose very well. Right. It's a good show when the first enemy, Incisor, he's literally just a snobby Richie prep kid who thinks he's better than everyone, but he's so charming and memorable. Like, he's just like he's a smug bastard basically, and I love that.
No, it's true though. Like, I absolutely agree.
It's good in some way. If I had to pick a favorite, I always go back and forth between Wing Knight and Siren. I love Wing Knight because I love his character arc. I love his story is basically one of Survivor's Guild. He's the only person left from his team, and he's grieving. He's grieving the loss of his team, the loss of his world, and he's pushing aside others. He's very cold, distant, your typical secondary, but it works.
but they make it work. Like they give a real reason why
for the purpose of his character, and you can see his growth. How he starts to open up to Kid. He becomes more friendly. He embraces Earth culture. Like in the first episode, he literally he breaks Maya's camera. He doesn't care about it. He's just like, get out of my way. I saved your life. Yeah, sure, but I don't care about you.
Yeah, Len could care less, honestly.
Later on, he starts to care about people. He starts to form bonds. And as for Siren, I love her character because I love the fact that we have a strong, prominent female character. She is canonically one of the best, strongest writers. Like, she's the second strongest behind Wrath. Yep. She's a leader. She is there for Wing Knight. She's there for Len. Like, she's an emotional support for him. She's just so well-rounded. And it's huge to think we got that back in 2008 when, typical Kamen Rider is barely starting to deliver on strong, prominent female characters.
On any female
last year. We're barely getting that with characters like Sakura or Neon when we had Siren back in 2009.
Yeah,
it's huge.
She carried. Like let's be real.
It's interesting too because when they get into the part when she's introduced and everything, and they talk about like the survive cards and everything, I believe they mentioned that she has one and she doesn't get to use it, which I think is really interesting to think about what her survive mode would have looked like. You know what I mean? But it almost makes you think like she doesn't need it. Like she's so badass, it's like that's a little overkill. You know what I mean? Like, But so she's really great. What about you, Frankie? Who sticks out to you?
Well, like I said, like I haven't seen so much of the series, but immediately right off the bat, I think Kit honestly really is a good protagonist to the show. Like I see him growing throughout the series just by the way of experience and growing his friendships with other people, and then his storyline with his father is also really interesting too. Spoiler alert, but when we realized that Wrath was the person in his head, like masked as his father, like that was like a really big like whoa moment for me because Kit has been like referring to his dad for advice and stuff like that throughout the whole series, and then for his father to just be the person who he's against the whole time, it's like what? No,
definitely I agree with that. Mine is definitely Kit, and I got something connected to that in a minute, but I'm going to talk about, but also Xaviax, because he doesn't exist in Ryuki. Like, all we get in Ryuki is the one girl's brother, and he just is the mastermind who set it up, but we get no explanation for it. Xaviax is a straight-on threat, completely originally made suit, by the way. It was nothing from Ryuki at all. There was nothing. He was completely made for the show. And he's a threat, though. Like, I'm really impressed with it. Like, the way that he slides his way into each of these different people's lives, trying to make them think that he is this certain person to give them what they want. He makes Sting thinks that he's from some other branch of the government, trying to get him to join him. He makes the Cho brothers think he's going to give them money for their different heists and different antics they get into. Like every little person, he's like, oh no, I'm totally this. Really, the only person he really tells the truth to is Strike. That's about it.
Right.
Like everybody else,
which is like his little like minion.
Exactly,
right?
exactly. And but no, Kit is really good because and it makes me sad thinking about it because I loved it so much, and so did the CW. By the way, the network itself loved it, but like the way their like rules and restrictions go, they made them air it the way they did. Which, if you don't know, Frankie, unfortunately, it got to like the last 5 episodes, and they went for it being on TV.
Yeah, they put it on the streaming services
only for a certain amount of time, and then took it off.
I will forever hold that against the CW.
I was so mad. I was there. I was like, what? Where's it not on? And they go, oh, blah, 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 CW. And it's fucking 2008, 2009 internet. It's garbage. Like, it's what do you mean?
Right, like, nobody going on that website. Like, yeah, it's real heartbreaking because the series did really well, not even just with like viewership, but also with their toys. And as you can see with Ballin, he has the toys. Yeah, exactly. So why would they just...
Loved it. When it came overseas, they got the original cast of Ryuki to voice all of their characters, their counterpart characters, and it got a sequel novel. I got a sequel book.
Yeah, they got a novel too. That's how you know. That's how you know, like, it's doing good. So, CW, like, what's going on with you? Like, I don't know why they just decided to make a decision like that when
they were trying to compete with Fox, and, having the whole Saturday morning cartoon block. They were trying to compete with them and see what they could have on there, and didn't know what the heck.
Disappointing.
So,
yeah, no, it deserved more. We were robbed.
It did. Absolutely.
We were
definitely. It definitely deserved a lot better than the treatment it was given. From the start, the CW didn't really care about it because they put it in the death slot. They put it at the end of the Saturday morning cartoon. So the kids aren't watching cartoons anymore. The adults aren't watching. So it's a very small range of people who are actually tuning in for it.
And then they moved it from there to the middle of nowhere time slot of like 6 a.m. during the week.
Yes.
Eventually. So
and they barely even announced when it was going to be airing. Like, if you turned on to find it, you were lucky because they had so little promotion for it.
Yeah.
Right. Why is that a thing? Like, why is there always such little promotion for this kind of stuff? Especially when it's a good show. Like, I'm telling you, like, last episode I was telling Zach, literally, if Hasbro promoted their IPs better, or not even just their IPs, specifically Power Rangers better, they would see more sales. But because they don't,
they're not seeing
nothing happens.
They want exactly
right. So like it goes back to this Dragon Knight. Like they could have promoted the show better. Like maybe give it a better time slot in the week, and they would have had more success with it. And I feel like if they did that, we would have seen more Rider adaptations because more people would have realized its potential.
Yes.
But look what happened. Instead, they're like, people aren't watching this series. Let's just put the last 5 episodes on this website, and then hopefully we can just get rid of it, move on. Yeah. And then that led to what happened, like, for it to stop creating adaptations again? What did the director...
Well, nothing really, as far as I could tell. They had plans, for what I've looked into, it's a combination of, which actually is a decently good website, TV Tropes, actually. Has a lot of trivia on there for stuff. So with that and a few other websites have corroborated it, having the same information here. They had plans to eventually go back and try to do either Blade or Fies after they were done doing this. They actually were told by the executives at one point it was doing really well and the ratings were decent and it was getting like it got some Emmys for different things. It got a few like daytime Emmys that they were going to be optioned for a movie even, and it just didn't happen. The CW just cut the ties and done, and nothing else happened.
So what we're learning is CW should have never been able to.
The bag.
It sucks so much. It really does. And the interesting thing is, Stephen Ford, the actor who plays Kit.
Look.
No, for real. Like I'm saying, because why? Why care? That's what they thought. Yeah. And then look what happened.
Yeah. The interesting thing is, Stephen Ford, the actor that plays Kit, he actually said on Twitter, because he talks about the show occasionally.
Yeah, we talk about Stephen Ford a lot.
Yep. Yeah, so he put on Twitter one time when talking about the production behind the show, they actually wanted it to go to a different network, to put it on Sci-Fi or on Fox. but they ultimately went with the CW because they were the cheapest offer. It was the cheapest option to go with the CW, and the CW didn't care for this show. They were just like, sure, we'll take it.
Yeah, and do nothing with it.
They'll take it, but then at what cost?
You can tell by the tone of the show. This was meant for more of a teenage, more mature audience than whatever the standard thing you were getting on a Saturday morning cartoon block was.
Right. Or like a Power Ranger audience. Yeah.
Exactly. That's another reason why I feel it, because the demographic wasn't the same demographic that they were aiming towards. You know, the block was aiming towards like a lot of kids who like have to wake up early for school or something like that. You know, they're not going to see like some serious live action adaptation of some Japanese adaptation and then think right, and then they're just gonna like click off because they don't care about it. And I feel like the CW kind of knew that. That's why they thought that it wasn't important, because they're like, oh, our kid audience doesn't care about this. Well, obviously not, you know, because like Ballin said, it's directed more towards a traditional teenage audience for the time.
Yeah, that just owes more to the whole thing of somebody said this to me many years ago, and it's just lived inside my head rent free ever since. And it's, don't write down to kids, write to them. Like write to the audience you're trying to speak to. Don't write down to them with a bunch of goofiness in it that doesn't make any sense. This was something where they were writing to the audience they were going for a very much so, like you said, like 12 to like 13, maybe 15-year-old type teenage audience. I mean,
and they took it very seriously too.
Power Rangers had. I'm sorry, but it did. It straight is like in the first episode is like just recently being like house arrested or something. Like he's like in some trouble and like kind of causing some shit to go down. Like he's not like a goody two shoes main rider or like Red Ranger, if you will. You know what I mean?
He got some
and I think a lot of the block with it
makes him real.
Was that it had been so long since Masked Rider that trying to bring it into being as a show, as far as like let's make it as big as, say, you know, Power Rangers, I think was difficult because they couldn't switch their brain to think of anything else but Power Rangers because that's been there for so long. Whereas if it was at all possible for that, you know, that Masked Rider was decent, then we would have been all the way through right neck and neck with Power Rangers and we'd be used to it by now. You know what I mean? So I think that was another part of it, is the audience was, part of the audience was like, huh?
I feel like this transitions really well to our second topic of the episode.
Hold on, real quick. Ballin, I just wanted to say, Stephen Ford, right? I kind of know him on Twitter. I kind of message him here and there, back and forth in direct messages. And
he's kind of his best friend. He has like his number put out.
No, I helped my bro out. I was gonna help my bro out. So he at one time had this goofy tweet, and there was a girl on it that was first snapping a bunch of times in the thing and a bunch of other tweets. And finally, I spoke up and I was like, "Stop here, whatever." He thanked me. I was like, "What? Really? Like it's really good?" I looked. It was. And so I was gonna troll you and make it seem like it was just gonna be us, and then have him just pop in for a little bit and talk to us and completely like starstruck you.
Wait a minute, what?
So I wasn't able to pull it off, but that was gonna.
Yeah, if you did, I would have lost my shit, Zach. You can't just do that.
He streams on Twitch with the Ryuki helmet, like on.
His that is cool. That is so cool.
As he should. It's really nice to see that. Despite everything that happened with Dragon Knight, he's very passionate about it, and he still loves and carries it. He's
talking about it,
He's planning on even doing a revival, right? Or like, or at least trying to do something of the sort.
He's been pushing for the longest time to see what he can do to get
the rights.
It never released physically in America. They never released it in North America. It released in other countries. It released in Japan, which is how I may have seen somewhere my friend watched it in pretty high quality, not me. It came out in Japan in Blu-ray quality, pretty high quality, and a few other territories, but not in America physically at all. So he's been pushing for a long time to do that. And actually, at one point, he was 3D printing the Dragon Knight decks and trying to like sell them a little bit. And I asked him about it once, like, I'd like one. He's like, actually, I can't do that because I'm pretty sure I'll get struck by copyright from Toei and from like Madness or anybody with like affiliated. So
they're not doing anything with it. Just let him make a little bit of money.
Right. He should have made them like the 2D cards, like what Ballin has. So like, it's a little bit easier.
Speaking of money, it's a great segue, Ballin, because the second part of our topic here is if Kamen Rider Dragon Knight was uber successful like Mighty Morphin, just a smash hit, making the mad monies like nobody's business, and it was it became the MMPR, if you will, of Kamen Rider adaptations. Let's live in this world. Let's live in this mirror world, this Ventara.
We're gonna go into the mirror world, and we're going to pretend like this is the case.
Just,
what would happen?
Oh my god!
A lot of potential. Let's just start off there.
Yeah.
A lot of potential because Rider seasons have gotten so much more creative as far as, you know, their gimmicks, their suits, their scenes, their action scenes, you know, like just like how Power Rangers over the time has gotten far more appealing. Kamen Rider is the exact same. So if they continue to adapt seasons like, I don't know, Decade, W, O's, 4s, Wizard, Gaim, Drive. I'm going in the order. But if they continue to adapt those seasons, I'm sure the viewers would have stayed around. In fact, I think Kamen Rider in the US would have been more successful.
I honestly think about that same thing every single day. Whenever I see Ballin, ever since I've ever met Ballin on Twitter, he's ever mentioned the word Dragon Knight, I think about this very scenario we're talking about right now, which is
and now you can let it out, Zach. Let it all out.
Where it worked out. Damn it, where it worked out, and there are two ways they could have gone about it. Right, they could have gone like sequentially and like, okay, we did Ryuki, let's go from there and let's do, you know, Fies.
Yeah.
Or hear me out. Since it was in 2008, 2009-ish time, what was playing in Japan at that time? Oh, Decade. What is Decade about? Is it about multiverse? Is it about multiple worlds where the average viewer wouldn't need to understand anything about the damn story from that season, and they could just see a cool character?
Oh, it's perfect. It lends itself perfectly to continuing the theming and everything.
Exactly.
Right.
You could totally put
Decade was a perfect season to adapt.
Adaptation would be like, you could put a thing in there of the whole crossing worlds thing that would set up your crossovers to the end of time forever. Any crossovers you ever did with him and double and O's, O's and 4's, whoever, you'd be set up infinitely because you have them in these separate dimensions.
There's also another really big benefit that they get if they choose to move forward with Decade. Decade had a crossover with Shinkenger. Shinkenger was adapted into Samurai. You can use that footage, those episodes, to have a promotional tie-in to get the Power Rangers demographic in. Yes, they might be a little bit younger. Samurai was very more childish compared to the tone of Dragon Knight. But regardless, it's the same. It's the same audience. Like, at its core, it is hitting the same audience. It's hitting people who like this, who like this superheroes, special effects, like this medium. You get the Power Rangers viewers, especially people who were turned off by Samurai because it was so kiddish compared to RPM. You now transition them over to Kamen Rider. Literally, and perfectly.
I would like to believe that. I feel like Samurai's adaptation to our Rider adaptation of Decade would have even made the next Sentai adaptations even more mature. They would try to
be better.
Yeah, a little bit, right? Because I feel like, I don't know, because it is different brands. You know, this is Saban over here with Samurai, and then this is I don't know, not CW with Rider. You know, like they would have I feel like the Rider adaptation would have been doing a lot better.
What if Disney, went after they sold the rights to Power Rangers, bought the rights to Kamen Rider?
On Disney XD, you just see Rider. I don't know. I feel like Disney wouldn't, even though Disney would treat it heaps better than CW, I don't think it would have done it as much justice.
Just as a rub in the face. Look at Stick. Oh my God, Stick. Gosh, get out of here.
We love you, Stick. We love you.
Oh my God.
I'm so glad that so many people are here. I'm looking at the view count. Like, we actually have some people in chat. Hey guys, sorry if we haven't really been acknowledging you. Hey Aaron. Hey George.
Kinsa Rider. Ever since we decided we were going to do this as a second topic, I literally was so passionate. I through hatred, created an entire idea of how to adapt Decade. And it has a really stupid name that I haven't made any better than Kamen Rider Shuffle. I'm sorry. I probably wouldn't keep it Kamen Rider. I would probably use, because if you don't know, it's a little tidbit not a lot of people know. Many years ago, before Saban had sold the rights to Power Rangers, they put out a copyright that you can still find called Power Rider. What in the fuck are you? Excuse me? You didn't do anything? You're just gonna let that copyright die? I don't want it to be that. I would go with Armored Rider, or maybe like Ballin said, reclaim the name Masked Rider. I don't know. But you would make it so you'd have your main rider that would be the Tsukasa equivalent. he creates his own driver, and it would be kind of a way you could kind of build into it the multiverse thing. And if you didn't remember this, also in Megaforce they had the cards, right? You could collect the cards in real life, like the normal cards for the Morpher. But they didn't just do this Rangers cards. No. They did cards for all the other Rangers throughout the seasons because it was leading into Super Megaforce, right? It was actually really successful. People loved those cards, ate them up. I mean, it's trading cards.
Yeah.
Tough.
They ate them up.
The same thing with the Decade Adaptation. You could make cards of all the different things.
You're right. It's a perfect way to like introduce all of these different suits without having to like go backwards and adapt all of these characters.
Exactly.
And the way that Decade works, if you've ever watched Decade, it's these augmented AR worlds. It's not even the same story as the original show, so you wouldn't have to try and F about what happened.
There's so much liberty there for them to work with. There are so many possibilities for not just expanding forward, but working backwards.
Right.
It just gives them so much room to work with any possible idea they could come up with.
Yeah. So my idea had the main rider being like sort of a bit of a techie, right? He creates the driver and everything, and he taps into this energy source that I haven't figured out yet. It'd be similar to the Morphin Grid, but it wouldn't be called that because I don't. Go away.
It's Morphin Grid's sister.
We're doing our own thing.
Rider Grid.
The Rider Grid.
Kamen Rider Grid.
Yes. And in doing so, he gets a vision, a flash of a bunch of images of all these different riders, right?
He's like...
So he also... Exactly. Like in
Literally.
So he's
like
also
so
not only a big fan of just normal like card games, like casino type, but he's also himself a fan of trading card games. So he creates the cards and the system where the powers work based off of that. So when he goes to these worlds, the cards are deactivated, right? Like, oh shit, what's going on? Forces himself, I guess I gotta meet them and get to know them or whatever, and gains their, like in Decade, gains their trust, learns who they are, learns how to fight
and then
them.
Gets their ability. Yeah,
exactly. And you don't need to know anything about that season. It's just cool powers he's getting. That's it.
Like talking about this makes me so sad. Because what could have been, man? I feel like if it worked out, we would have been eaten. I feel like we would have had like a revised adaptation by now if this was like still going on, you know? Because like I just think about it, like
we've also had like a subset of really toxic fans that would be mad that they didn't go back and do all the early like Heisei Phase 1 seasons before.
Okay, did MMPR go back to Live Man? Did they go back to Bioman? No, like they just continue to go forward, and here we are in 2023, 30th anniversary. Let's go.
I'm just saying.
No, like I'm saying that the writer's so popular outside of Japan. So popular. We have to resort to doing very legal stuff to watch Rider, right? So imagine if it was actually accessible to the demographic outside of Japan. Like it would have worked. Somebody has to come back and grab Rider again. Somebody. I will grab it at this point.
If you're still around, if you're not in bankruptcy, like please, work whatever black magic you did to allow them. For one, how did you get the rights to Ryuki when Ishinomori said stay the hell away from it? Saban and pretty much anybody else, I would think. I would think it wouldn't just be Saban, but I mean,
we need like a documentary like how he made that happen and like Dragon Knight in general.
Yeah,
right.
One of the benefits that Dragon Knight had going for it was the fact that, and one of the reasons why it's so good is because Toei was very hands-on. They were working together with production. They were overseeing everything. They were looking They were looking at the characters. They were looking at the strips. Toei was working very closely with this compared to Power Rangers, where Toei's just like, here's the footage, do whatever you want. We don't care. That's the huge difference here. And also going back to Master Rider, Toei had nothing to do with that. That was all Saban. But with Dragon Knight, Toei was working hand in hand with them, and that's why I feel the quality is so much better than any other adaptation.
Like it literally feels like a Rider season, but for an American audience, or not even just American, but just for an international audience.
Absolutely, Frankie. Yes. I saw a tweet from Ball, and it's one of my favorite things ever. He was talking about Dragon Knight, and then it was a thing about talking about their favorite Rider seasons, and he had that as his number one Rider season. I was like, yes, put it in there. Yes. Use the chaos.
Okay, it's a whole thing. It's a huge debate and argument. Does Dragon Knight count as a Rider season? It wasn't made in Japan. It's not official. It's not a Heisei season. Here's my take on it, and I won't rant, but basically, I believe it should be treated as an official season. As I said, Toei was very hands-on for it, and also Japan loves it. They dubbed it. They released it on Blu-ray, high quality. They made the follow-up novel. They mentioned it officially. You will never find Toei talking about Power Rangers. They'll always censor themselves or allude to it.
Let them cook. Let them cook.
Dragon Knight by name. They specifically talk about Dragon Knight and they honor it. So if Toei considers Dragon Knight to be worth talking about, why are we going to exclude it? It might not be an official Heisei season.
That's his final event, y'all. There
is no debate to be had. Dragon Knight is an official season.
Absolutely.
Period. Literally.
Absolutely. Yes.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Oh my god. Like, I'm saying, why wouldn't you count it as an official season?
Yeah.
I need more of this kind of... I need whatever was going on with Dragon Knight to kind of implement itself into Power Rangers. Because we see the state of Power Rangers right now. Love the 30th anniversary ideas and stuff like that. How well will they execute it? That's the question I want. I wish Decade was adapted so I could get my hands on a version of the Deca Driver Bandai. Be damned.
Hey,
like
interesting tidbit.
The Deca Driver spins around.
No, listen, straight up.
Oh my god.
So the Deca Driver specifically, I think it was either I believe it's a Disney show. There was some kind of thing in it where it was like a sciencey tech character. They literally just had a Deca Driver as the prop of whatever they were doing. It was
yeah. I think you're talking about like Lab Rats or something like that. Lab Rats had like a driver in there somewhere.
Disney uses a lot of props, and they're just stuff that they find in storage. I don't know where they get it or how they get it, but it's so jarring.
A question. Why do they got Rider props in storage?
Exactly. Like, where did it come from? Why is that there?
That now you can like start to put the pieces together. Disney probably did want to adapt Rider, but maybe they just couldn't have gotten the rights.
It's such a complicated story. I wish.
Hold on, now I want to find that screenshot. Love.
Oh, the Deca Driver thing. Oh yeah, bring it up.
Yeah.
Rider.
Oh my goodness.
Hold on.
Yeah, so Ballin, I kept going with it, and I'm like, oh, you could do this with this character and this with this, and like, there's so many ways you can make him like work like Tsukasa, but like you can't be entirely Tsukasa for like an American audience because like they wouldn't like him at all. Uninitiated to Kamen Rider.
Yeah, like him a little different.
But like you could still make him still kind of cocky and smug, being a scientist, being somebody who created his own tech, and being like, I'm the big shit, blah blah blah, and then totally flip it on its head when he meets. Yeah, what are we doing with the Urkel there? Or the Death Driver? I mean, are you kidding me?
Like, what's going on?
What are we
doing? This is such a funny screenshot to me. I can't. Sorry to interrupt you.
You can flip it on its head when he meets however we were able to adapt the end. You know, however you do that. Again, be like, what? I thought I was the only one with access to this technology. No, not really, bro. Me too. Blah, blah, blah. Like.
Right.
Oh, I'm so angry.
Hold on. I feel like even if they did adapt Decade, they would have included even more writers. Kind of like how Dragon Knight included what's his name again? The chameleon guy, right? What's his name? Camo. Thank you. They included Camo. Like I feel like for Decade, what was that third writer? She was. I'm trying to get the name. I'm not a fake fan. Yes,
Kivala. Yeah.
Kivala. They would have probably made her like a mainline writer too. I'm being so real.
No,
I'm being so real.
Yeah.
And again, with the female characters having such a strong presence in the writer season, they could have done it as well, bro. Like they could have. Literally, like I'm saying, the pieces were right there. Who couldn't have done it? Why didn't they do it? I need an answer, bro. Like I'm sorry.
Toei?
Like it.
Yes.
I'm gonna say it right here, right now. Decade has flaws. Decade had a lot of flaws. They could have adapted it and fixed those flaws. I know they could have fixed those flaws.
And you know what? As much love as they gave to adapting Ryuki, like keep Adness. Adness knew what the fuck they were doing, bro. Keep them around. As much love. Dude, they would have went even farther. They would have given us our handoff thing that they do with every Rider season, where we get a little cameo from who's going to be next. They would have done that. We would have gotten some way of understanding whatever the double adaptation was going to be. Here he is, helping out, Purple, blah, 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 blah. We're doing our thing. It's a stupid name. Shut up, both of you. But it's just like, hear me out. I think
we need to work on that, but other than that, we have an idea.
We're not going to call it a decade because it doesn't care about the last 10 years of anything because it's not there. So you got to do cards and something with cards, all right? So,
right. But maybe not.
Your own idea.
So, like past a decade, right? One season that I would really like to see adapted
Ghost.
is Ghost, but 01.
Yes,
I feel like 01.
I'm gonna say it. Thank you for saying it for me.
I know, we're thinking the same thing, right? Like 01 would have been such an interesting adaptation. Go ahead, Ballin. Say why.
All right, so
let me see.
Okay, well, first of all, not even this is common knowledge. I don't like 01. So making it better, that's already a bonus. But the other reason why I feel like it would be very interesting to see is because I feel like it would be interesting to see a sort of their take on the idea of robotics, AI, and corporations. Like I feel that's a theme that is very much suited for American audiences. I mean, America, we love capitalism. But
home of the brave.
Taking the idea of like corporations and AI technology, especially in the current age where AI is
right, where like AI is huge right now.
Yeah,
if they did a 01 adaptation right now with like
it would lean so well into the current times of AI discussions as well as talks about capitalism and corporations. Like, it's a perfect story to tell, and it would make a bad season good.
We're revealing right now that you're leading a production of the adaptation and you've cast Elon Musk as Bowser? Is that what I mean?
You know what? He probably would.
You know what? Regardless of that, if he wasn't, I don't care. I can't stand the guy. You know that the dude bros that just defend him so much would be in the fandom toxically like, is Bowser supposed to be a thing about Elon? Are you kidding me? What's going on there? Like,
it'd be such a mess, but it would be so perfect.
It works. We gotta get the traction somehow, and if it's from those dude bros, please enlighten us with your comments.
That's what I've always stumbled on, is how they would do Ghost. I've always really not been able to figure out a way to do that, because so much of Ghost is based on entirely historical figures from Japan that
not
nobody
just
in America will know.
Not just
educate the people.
Also...
If Samurai could use their material and make it, well, they did a really sloppy job, but I feel like Ghost could have done a bit better.
Yeah,
you know. Ghost.
I think the other thing about Ghost that would be very interesting to see how they would adapt it. Ghost as a season relies very heavily on Buddhist themes. It has a lot of imagery and characters. I mean, they literally, the main characters are in a temple. They are, they're monks. So it's very heavily inspired. The theme of death, rebirth, human life, potential, and value. Those themes are very heavily incorporated in Buddhism. And the show does great with it. So how do you take a concept like that and translate it to American audiences while keeping the core, keeping it respectful to those beliefs? And, Buddhism doesn't have a big presence here compared to how it does in Japan, in Asia.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want them to change it to American audiences to make it like a Christian show. That would be terrible. But some way of keeping those themes while making them familiar to American audiences. That's a challenge, but I'd love to see how they would go about it.
I'm pretty sure that, because I don't have the files anymore, because I think that when I wrote it up till now, my computer, the one I'm using right now, I dropped it at one point and my hard drive snapped in half, so I had to get a whole new hard drive. I don't have it anymore. That makes me so sad.
What is going on?
It was stupid because it literally fell on carpet, and I was like, "Why isn't it doing anything?" And then it started blue screening. I'm like, "Oh God, no!" So I had to get a solid state drive, and it's a whole thing. But anyway, the lost files are eventually out there somewhere. Someone can find the garbage in the landfill where they're at, and I've struggled with that. You're right about the whole like spiritual Buddhism thing. The best I came up with is that the main rider would be like the people that he'd like travel around with. His dad was like a museum curator, basically, and the Onari counterpart basically was someone who would travel with them, but instead of focusing on like cultural like civilization stuff, he focused on religions, and he was super fascinated by that stuff. So that's where you get some of it.
Okay. I like what you're coming up with here. I like this.
Yeah. And then, are you a writer? Not like a common writer, like a writer, like a screenplay writer.
So the other thing too was what else? Oh, that's right. So I remember I'm trying to remember the names, but I stuck with when it came out with the whole Power Rider thing, right? When that was like a copyright, I was like, that's really cool. Why didn't they use that? What an idiot Saban is and was and always will be. And so I can't. There's so many reasons not like Saban. But anyway, so I took that name. I was like, well, if we're gonna make it like Dragon Knight, we'll keep Power Rider. They'll say that, and then they'll say a second phrase before they transform. So they say Power Rider to start, right? That brings out the belt, whatever. Then for that season, the Ghost counterpart would say Power Rider, then he would say Haunt. Spectre would say Power Rider, I want to say Terrify. And then I had another one. It was basically variations on the word Haunt. And I think Necrom was Power Rider Lich, was what I called him instead.
Oh.
So, yeah, so like I went hard on the names. Okay. It was just the concepts within it to like still be, like you said, respectful to what we got from the, source material. And for American audiences not to be like, why don't you make it a Christian show?
Yeah,
that's a really good idea. You're kind of eating with that, Zach. You're kind of eating. I need you to like write it up again, not drop it,
and tell them we need to do this now.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what we should be doing right now.
Is that what is Agnes even around anymore? Like they did Dragon Knight, and then it was just tumbleweeds again.
It's really hard to find the production information.
They just got no money left. No money.
They have a Wikipedia page. Let's see what we got. Hold on a second. What do we got? As of 2021, company has filed a forfeit of all business. The website. Okay.
Damn.
So they're dead then. Cool.
Shut down hard. We gotta go look elsewhere.
Not even bankrupt.
Exactly
they're gone.
Releasing information for the series, there are plans for a feature-length movie for the show. In an interview, Steve Wang stated that they had written a story for a film, but Agnes was raising money to bring over another Heisei Kamen Rider for broadcast in the United States someday, rather than a film or a second season of Dragon Knight.
We were robbed. We were robbed.
Okay, here's what we gotta do. We gotta go back to 2009 and crowdfund this ourselves. Before crowdfunding was even a thing, we start up.
We create the website.
We make the website to crowdfund
ratings to just shoot them through the roof for no reason at all. They have no other choice but to continue to support it. It becomes a success. We get back here. And it's a bizarre world, and we live in that perfect bizarre world. And
we're eating good. We get Kamen Rider in the afternoon and Power Rangers for breakfast.
Kamen Rider in the afternoon and Power Rangers is done. It's only Kamen Rider.
Damn! I didn't know there was a trade-off to this.
It's
Dang.
Fine.
Okay, look here's the truth. Here's the good news. Okay. The good news is that Power Rangers is getting a rebirth. We know that. They're getting a rebranding. They're going to start to do more stuff for mature audiences. And they're going to kind of go away from what they've been doing for the past 30 years, And there's going to be a lot of changes that we don't know what will be exactly. But we are ready to see what they have to offer. Hopefully it's good. But I make a point of this to say that there might be a chance that this could happen for Kamen Rider.
Like the episode Always a Chance? Sorry, I had to say that.
I feel like it's been such a long time since that whole you can't use Kamen Rider band. I feel like if Power Rangers is really successful with their new rebranding, maybe the same company or like whatever, Hasbro, could grab another Rider adaptation. And guys, it has to be Decade. I don't care how long it's been since Decade has aired. It needs to be Decade.
That's the one knock against it, is that it's been so long since Decade. I don't think the footage would look terrible. They would need to get the most highest quality Blu-ray footage they can possibly
I feel like they would just go the original footage route. Just get the suit. I think they might even need to make the suit.
It's possible. It's definitely... It would be difficult. Adapting Decade in this day would be a very big challenge because of footage restraints, suit restraints. Who knows what condition those suits are in. They'd have to remake stuff. But it's
Decade was in Geo, so I mean, he's probably in decent shape. And plus he had the...
Wait. Decade and Zeo in one season. I feel like that would really help the seasons out. Now it's a shame because we will be like missing out like on 18 seasons, right? Like we're gonna need to bring those back in some way. But I feel like ZO as like a revival for Kamen Rider for international viewers would be a step forward to what we're discussing in this episode. The high potential that it could have brought. We're just gonna have to wait and see, honestly. I mean, I have high hopes. That it could happen because Power Rangers is going down this direction, and if it's good, then there's most likely a high chance that Kamen Rider might come back as well.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
my belief.
if people keep supporting it like they do right now, where people are supporting it with the physical releases, yeah, the physical releases are following all of the releases they currently have available to them through streaming. But still, if people keep supporting it through that, they're going to continue to bring things over because it's making them money. You know, regardless if you're a fan of Ryuki or not, I think Ryuki is a pretty decent rider show. I still bought the Blu-ray because that's coming out pretty soon because I want to support it. I want to show them that we want it and that it needs to be here, please. You know, and that people care about it. And you know, I mean, I can also see the side of the fence where people may be over adaptations, especially if Power Rangers Cosmic Fury is decent because it's using basically nothing of Q Ranger but the mecha footage. They're going to go past that. The season past that, it's going to be all original Megazord footage and fight footage and everything. You know, which is scary, but I mean, they're going to move past adaptation being what they latch on to. So I wonder if that might be a bit I'm not trying to be a negative Nancy, but it worries me that they'd be like, no, we still have to use the footage of that, you know. So.
I definitely agree with you. I think not just in terms of like production in studios, like people at Hasbro, Toei, not just them, but also viewers, audiences. I think a lot of people are of the mindset that adaptations shouldn't come back. You know, just all original stuff, or you know, just give us subs, whatever it may be. Personally, I think there is room for adaptations and official releases. I think we can keep getting those Blu-rays that we're getting. We can get
alongside.
Hopefully someday be able to get frequent releases, simulcast. That stuff is possible alongside adaptations. They don't have to compete with each other. One doesn't have to replace the other. Both of them are options, and both of them are equally viable. I would hate for adaptations to completely die off. It's unlikely that we'll get another one, but if we ever do, I will 100% support it and look forward to whatever we might get. Because I think it brings more options to the table.
Yeah.
It's interesting to me how movies have the exact opposite problem, where they make sequel after sequel expecting to latch on to the original success. But in this case, we want to see a sequel, or at least just, like you said, an adaptation of these IPs, these franchises, these brands. Series is what I'm trying to land on. You know, like, they really should bring this back in some way, shape, or form. I don't know who will be able to, but it should happen because it's just money waiting to be collected. I'm being so real right now. Like the amount of money that you could collect from a Rider adaptation is insane. Do you know how big Rider is in Japan?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously.
Is it?
Is it
popular? Is it?
It's pretty niche. But no. I'm like, guys, like I don't think it's that big. But no, like I'm saying, like. It's really big in Japan, so only imagine what would happen if they started to adapt it correctly in the US. Huge potential. Well,
and the different audience that they could go for, like so much of what we know, like what kind of Bob was saying, so much of what we know and what we're used to is the adaptation thing, yes, but audience-wise, what we're used to is being watered down and played down to, like what they do with Power Rangers. They make it for a younger audience where not very like super serious awful things happen. I'm not trying to say we need to try to fucking adapt Black Sun or Amazons, but like you can still adapt some of the other seasons and then be a little bit darker, and that's gonna be okay. Like take the route that Dragon Knight did where they had people being vented and use that. I saw a beautiful idea the other day. I absolutely, for the most part, except for the V Cinema, despise most of Saber. Someone had a really awesome idea making a follow-up to Dragon Knight as a Saber adaptation. Absolutely.
It works very well.
It works silly well. Like, scarily, eerily well.
Silly well.
like the way that Maya ends up as an author at the end of the story in the show. And so that is there
the
as
books,
a story thing, and that leads right into the book thing.
The Kamen Rider grid
become the Saber equivalent, or maybe it's his son and he gets to be Caliber.
Yeah,
you know, like
now we're talking. Now we're talking.
To be Buster, I don't know, because Buster was a dad. Let him be a dad rider. Damn it! Oh,
and it's you. You're casted.
Thank you.
Wow.
I definitely think right now is the best time to bring back adaptations because. Let's look at just Reiwa seasons. We have 0-1. We talked about it already. AI, corporations, that's an easy story to tell. Saber, you can make it a Dragonite sequel. If you don't want to do that, you still have fairy tales, fantasy. People love fantasy settings.
Books.
That's a good story to tell.
Literally, right.
Levi's, the demons, stamps, it's really easy to work with. Geats is huge.
Yeah.
Fortnite, Squid Games. There is so much that you can work with just these 4 seasons alone. Like, the possibilities are there.
It's true.
It just takes someone willing to work with it. Someone willing to try again.
Care into it, to put patience.
On the other side too, like we've talked about with Squall, Frankie, it also takes on the other side Toei willing to actually do it.
Also true. Toei is one of the biggest factors in this because they have to give permission. Yes. I could have a company and be like, I want to adapt Kamen Rider, but if Toei says no, I go home.
You can go. Well, what like you said, Ballin, what made Dragonite so good is how Toei was so involved in the project. Yeah. So if they do a writer adaptation in the future, I don't want that to change. I don't want whatever company that tries to adapt Kamen Rider, like even if they get the rights from Toei, I want Toei to be involved. I want them to be like over their shoulder, like, okay, yeah, that makes a good character arc, or yeah, this character being killed off makes sense for the story, you know, and they can stay dead, by the way, you know. It would make a lot of sense to do it like that because of the success of Dragonite.
Wow. I just had a realization that Dragonite is even more of a rider season than some other rider seasons because it also has the idea that death means nothing.
Damn it, I hate the fact that you put that thought in my head. I'm supposed to like this season.
It's an overall theme that they just love to bring back. Y'all, we had some really good ideas. I hope someone higher up in like either Hasbro, Toei, I doubt they're watching this, but Toei, you know, someone.
Toei, please, just
John Toei obviously is a frequent viewer of
Jonathan
our podcast.
Tokusatsu Toei, please.
I hope somebody listens to us and makes it a reality. Stephen Ford, he's trying his best. I hope you have. I will, if he has like a Kickstarter, like a GoFundMe or whatever. I'm donating. Like I'm gonna donate as much as I can because it needs to happen. If the whole Toku community helped him out, bro, could you imagine?
I would absolutely be hysterical if there was some kind of a little thing where he's like, guess what, guys? I got the rights to blah, blah, blah season. I don't give a shit. Whatever season you want to pick, fucking pick Saber. I don't give it. That's fine. Deno, I don't know. Fucking Ichigo. I don't give a crap. Like, I've gotten the rights to this season and we're adapting it straight up. Thank you. And here's all of the money. And also,
I want to wake up one day. I want to wake up one day and I want to see like a copyright title for like a writer adaptation to be storming Twitter. Like I just, you know how like a new season gets leaked by like their name. I want that to happen. Like, yeah, not even Power Rider. How about like, I don't know.
You know what I thought about the other day?
Transform Rider.
How Gaim used in Gaim, they refer to themselves in Gaim as armored riders. Do that.
Yeah.
Armored Riders.
Armored Riders.
I don't know. I don't know.
Look, do we have to keep Rider? Like, I feel like Power Rangers didn't really keep Super, you know? Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm glad they didn't. You know, they kind of struck gold with.
Brought it back.
That's what made it bad. I'm saying, like, don't leave Super out, you know? Make it your own thing, but also using the footage that, like, we're putting everything in place for someone to do it. I'm just gonna wait and see. And if no one does it, when I grow older, maybe I'll do it myself. Maybe.
Just gotta wait for it to be in public domain. That only takes like 60 years.
Oh yeah.
Not that long. It's fine. Don't worry about it. I'll wait. It's about how long I'm gonna have to wait to get Real Soldier on DVD from the shot releases. So I mean, that's fine. That's fine. I'm good.
That's just lovely.
I'll wait that long.
So thank you again so much, Ballin, for joining us this episode. Your insight on this stuff is really, like, I love your opinions on this stuff, especially for 01. You got me jumping out of my chair for 01. Like, I love it.
I'm very glad you guys had me here. I'm sorry it took so long.
Of course.
I was out of the country for a while and stuff, but incredibly grateful to be here. Things happen. Incredibly grateful.
We're grateful that you joined us.
It's really hard to get a hold of me. I'm sorry. I'm like, dude, it's fine. Don't worry about it. He's like, no, really. Right. My family and friends like kind of hate me sometimes.
It's true. People message me and I don't check my messages for like 2 or 3 days, and they're like, it was important. And I was like, you should have called me again.
He's like, that's your fault. Yeah. Oh my god. literally so many ideas popped up in this episode, and I feel like we could definitely grab some of them and expand on them in future episodes. So honestly, Ballin, if you want to come back, doors open. You know, let's make it happen.
Thank you. I'd love to be back for whatever topic you guys think I can contribute to. It's a great time, really great time.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Hopefully one day we can grab so many guests that we had and just like put them in one episode.
Just everybody. We're almost episode 20. We can have
StreamYard has 10. 10. Maybe. But anyway, thank you so much, everyone, for watching this episode. If you like what you see, you can obviously go ahead and comment down below, like and subscribe to the channel. And if you want to be on this episode as well, you can go ahead and message Zach and I on Twitter or to the official Henshins and Homies Twitter account. If you want to suggest a topic, you can go ahead and comment down below and we can maybe try to get to it, because you know we're always open to suggestions. Absolutely. Also, thank you so much to the people who have been listening to us on Amazon, Google, Apple, and Spotify. We see you, we hear you. Well, you hear us, but we see you supporting us, you know, so it means a lot to us that you guys get to support us with those streaming services. Honestly, again,
is scary, so it's okay. You just want to listen to me. It's fine. I'm kind of an ogre.
It's true. I kind of disappear with the glitchiness. I vent basically. so it's okay if you just want to hear my voice. You know, it happens. But anyway, again, thank you so much, Ballin, for joining us this episode.
Those damn Ventaran internet connections. God damn it.
Literally, I'm saying. I'm trying to get my own Wi-Fi router soon. We'll see. Right. Next week, we should have a very fun guest. We'll reveal that soon. But stay tuned for that. All right? We got some good ideas coming up.
Yeah.
All right.
John Toy, if you're listening, come on. Let's do it. Come on.
Let's make it happen. Come on, John Toy. Let's do this episode and adapt.
Just let us take care of everything. We'll do it.
We're the writers.